Hey guys, welcome back to Dissecting Customs on YouTube. Dave here in the garage, Area 51 air ride. Right, so back on the air ride. Hopefully I've got all the parts and bits and pieces that I need. I was waiting on stuff coming in and the last of it came in this week, I think. So yeah, let's get into that. Hopefully we'll get it kind of controlling. It won't be 100% finished because there's some stuff I'm going to have to do, custom stuff I'm going to have to do in the console to now adapt that to... I'll show you when we get there. But yeah, we've got to pretty much rip out all the control system that we had in there before and valve block back out and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. Okay, so this is where we got to with it all, and then discovered that the controller didn't work. So you know, that little black box up there doesn't work properly. Well, the black box does, it's the controller on the inside, so it's all got to come out again. Not the tanks and the compressors, fortunately, but all of that wiry stuff, most of it anyway. So yeah, so I'll get ahead and get that underway. I'm going kind of old school with just a controller set up like this and gauges. I don't like these, but I'm gonna look at kind of rejigging things so you know I don't have just this controller on a cable. Plus it's too short, the cable is too short, so I'm gonna have to lengthen all the wiring for it anyway, but for now I just want to get it run up the front. I picked up a water trap, so and then I had to go and hunt down fittings and all sorts of crap to be able to plumb that in, and I've got a gauge sort of set up, like pressure gauge sort of set up, so I'll have to be taking out all of those sensors and all of that wiring and stuff to make it all work. So no point showing you is all me pulling it all apart again, because if you've got this far in the video build series, you probably watched me put it all in, so that was probably punishing enough. So this time around I'm just going to get it all out and then we'll be back. We interrupt this broadcast to officially launch Dissecting Customs merch website. We got my samples and that in, got hats, flex fit, pretty slick, can be worn backwards. Also on the website we have the snapback, like that, and also we have the beanie, like that. I have no idea who that chick is, but she just showed up and modelled it for us. We have some t-shirts. We have this DMK pinstripe, that's what it's called on there. This piece here, the bomb truck. Big print on the back of the bomb truck. This is a bit of artwork I did a couple of years ago now in preparation for this when the channel just blew up, but it didn't happen. So we have Area 51 in teal. So that's just another design I kind of was mucking around with and put together for a t-shirt. We also have, which I didn't get a sample of, the OG Area 51. Which is another sort of illustration drawing of the car when it was in that primary cut up, roof chopped stage, kind of back when the channel started. That was kind of what that piece of artwork is based on, this one. Okay, pricing, $29.95 US for a t-shirt, $25 US for caps and beanies. Works out to be $51.78 New Zealand dollars for a t-shirt. Yeah, hats $43. It's a little bit spendier than I would have liked it to be, but the kind of base price for these items and that is kind of pretty set. Yeah, so that's where the pricing is pretty much at the moment. I would have liked to have got the t-shirts down to that kind of $20 US mark, but then there's absolutely no cream in it whatsoever, because that's pretty much the cost price. And this ain't a charity, man. Well, okay, it is a charity. Anyway, that's the pricing. Now this is a print on demand sort of system where if you place an order it'll get printed. I don't carry them in stock. I don't really handle the orders or anything, so I just coop some profit out of it, sort of thing. So they'll get printed somewhere overseas, hopefully close to you. My samples were actually printed in the US. I thought they were going to get done in Australia, but they came from the US. Shipping from, I think it was Ohio was where they were printed, to New Zealand here. Cost $17 US. I don't know what that translates to at the moment, currency exchange rate, maybe about 25 bucks. So I didn't think that was actually too bad. So hopefully if you're in the US and ordering a shirt or a 2 or 7, it won't be, you know, as much as that. If you're in the UK or Europe or Australia, hopefully it will print closer to home to you, and shipping hopefully will be cheaper. Also, there is, this just comes on this website. I didn't sort of actively kind of think about doing this, but there is like a donation box type thing, so if you just want to donate to the channel you can do that through this platform. It's quite cool in the respect that they don't take any fee, I think, other than like credit card fees. That's how that works. You can donate like sort of $5, $10, I can't remember what it's set to, but you can go and have a look on there if you so choose to. I'm not panhandling sort of thing, I'm just saying it's there if you feel like you want to support the channel in any way, help me make poor choices in buying parts, and so I can buy those parts twice, because I always buy the wrong thing the first time around. So yeah, so that's where we're at. The official DMAT Customs store is open, and again, bomb truck. I actually particularly like this picture of the bomb truck that I drew. I think I might maybe do a version of the Area 51 in this style. These are like full colour, high-res digital print. The quality is pretty good. If it's as good as the stuff I've had done locally, just like, you know, for my own entertainment, they do last quite well, the prints do. So there you have it. Go and have a look if you so see fit, and much appreciated if you bought some merch and support the channel, support my habits. Good habits, they're car habits, they're not they're not bad habits. So anyway, back to the scheduled programming. I've removed all the stuff that needs to be removed. I'm kind of starting from scratch as far as our electrical system goes, and then our monitoring is, and basically a little gauge. Roughly, I thought that was cracked for a minute there, but it's just a plastic film over the top of it. But that'll look like that, but the letters will be white, like that. So that will have a tank pressure and then the 4 corners, and we'll control that off the main sort of switching thing. And this gauge comes with pressure sensors and very little in the way of instructions as to what sensor goes where on this harness. We've obviously got like a little plug that goes in the back of the gauge, and then these are my sensors, and then we've got 12 volt and ground, I would think. But yeah, that's the instructions. It's so typical of this kind of stuff. It doesn't really give you a hell of a lot to go on, if you know what I mean, like which of these plugs is, you know, which corner. So it's going to take a little bit of trial and error you know, once we kind of get that far. But first up, I guess I've got to put these sensors in to my valve block, and then one into the tank, and then we can pretty much put the valve block back in. Although I'm wondering whether I need to kind of redo something, because we did have a loss of air once it kind of charged up, and then it would lose pressure. It was leaking somewhere. But anyway, I'll probably just do all this, and then I'll go around and just do a leak test and all that kind of stuff, rather than kind of redoing them all and possibly making a new leak. So I'll get these sensors in. So there's that one. So they've all got the same marking on. Oh, that's right, one of these plugs had a slightly different marking on it. So all the sensors, I think, are the same. So I'll put 4 of them in here and 1 of them in the tank. Okay, so that's the sensors all fitted in there. You've seen me do that before. I'm just using Teflon tape. It's called C-Lon. This was recommended to me by a guy that sold me a lot of the fittings, and he sells a lot of air ride stuff, so hopefully it's all good. I just had a thought while I was doing that. I need two sort of sensor ports. I need one for the gauge and one for the solenoid, the pressure sensor that I've got to fit in there as well, because on the other system the kind of computer thing controlled all of that side of things, and I'm kind of deleting that. So it had one sensor for, you know, switching the compressor on, and then, you know, also reading it, whereas I need two. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so you can see that empty port up the back there, that was where my tank sensor was, and that's my knees. So I was gonna basically just put one of these in there, a pressure switch, and that's switches on at 120 and goes off at 150. I've actually got two. That one goes, oh, it was just a spare, that's right. Came in a pair for some reason, but that's fine. I got a spare in case I've got a problem. I need to put a junction in somewhere. Now I could just take out that spare compressor altogether, but I kind of like the idea of having one sitting in the car that I can just basically swap the battery over and it'll run the main power sort of thing as a backup. So I've got to find a way of teeing my sensors and switch somehow in line, whether I do something with that gauge there. Kind of like the idea of having a gauge in the boot for some reason. I don't really know, just kind of like a bit more analog, and yeah, it's kind of figuring that out now. Not quite sure what I'm going to do there, but I'll figure it out. Okay, so I rummaged through all my little brass fittings and stuff like that and found this little doodacky here, and I drilled and tapped a 1/4 inch NTP into it. It hasn't got a lot of wall on it though. It should be alright, so I'm going to give it a try. It's not, you know, really ideal. If it leaks and it becomes problematic, then I may just have to do away with the second compressor completely. I don't really want to, or I'll go and find a proper good sort of T that can do these two different sort of, I've got a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch fittings, you know, that got to go in there. But I'll just chuck a bit of thread tape on. I want to put this one on first because this is the thin one that doesn't have a little wall thickness in my fitting, if that makes sense. It does only go in so far before it yeah, the taper gets to it. I'll just jam it in there and just gently work it down. The thing is, the thread gets in there as well, so I'm wondering whether this will bottom out before this can fully engage. But we'll have a little play with it and see what happens. Need a bigger spanner. Okay, so I had to get old Big Bertha out here and get around that sensor, but it might be alright. I didn't drill it very straight. It'll either work or it won't, so threading tape on this, and then we can put this into the tank. Is it the right size? 70% confident that it is. Right. Okay, so that's me pressure switch and me tank sensor installed. I think they're tight enough. Oh, it gives me the willies cranking on them too much in case they, you know, a lot of them are only brass, or, you know, kind of they're hollow and you can just snap them off. hopefully it won't happen. Alright, I suppose I can probably put that back in now. Might do that next, I think. Okay, so I got that bolted up there. I actually managed to scratch it when I was putting those sensors in, unfortunately, but no big deal. I scratch everything when I'm putting it in, so I've got a bit of loose stuff. Got my water trap. I'm going to put that in between the tank and the valve block. I know some people put them between the compressors and the tank. Yeah, that does make sense. Tank, I'm kind of more concerned about it getting into this and stuff, you know, so I kind of want to, you know, put it in there. That's my logic anyway, so that's I'm sticking to it. So I was thinking of having to mount it off the side of here somehow, make some kind of clamp thing that holds it. Not quite sure how yet, but cross that bridge when we come to it. Not sure if that's in properly yet. It's still a bit long actually. Of course. Lots of grunting. So that'll sit something like that eventually, once I've figured out some kind of mount for it. For now, it's just gonna sit like that. Okay? Yeah, I guess I'll start kind of running this. I've still got to figure out some of the stuff to do with all the electrical powerage and all that kind of thing. Oh, okay. I might have to tidy this up. This end's got to run up to the dash, and that'll be up to keyed. And then all these sensors, I might just have to kind of tie them up a little bit. They're quite long, and yeah, it might be better if I can at least not loom them up, but you know, I could loom it up, I guess, up to a point until I figure out which is the tank sensor and then which are the four corners. If I should just zip tie them, or should I tape them? Kind of neater taped, easier to manage, don't get hooked up on things. Tape it. Okay, so I have not fully loomed it, I've just kind of wrapped it every, you know, little while. Every once in a while I sort of kind of just, you know, a couple of 100mm of wrap just to help hold it together. Now I'm going to kind of feed this through up the front and figure out how much too long it is. Across. That'll be heaps. Okay, we might not have as much extra to play with as I thought we were going to. Take some back. I need to go to about there where the display is. That can be lengthened, no problem. Pull this back through a bit. I'm going to wrap that round behind the compressor. Okay, so out of all these 5 plugs, only that one appears to be any different in any kind of marking, but I don't honestly think it is. I think it's just a marking on the plug. It's probably just they pulled one out of the box and fitted it, tied it off, and away they went. So I'm just going to have to plug these in higgledy-piggledy anywhere and see what moves when I get to the point where I can push buttons. So we'll start with this one, which is the only one that is a little different, so we'll maybe just hope that it is the tank sensor for the gauge. I'm going to run these up over the top of the tank. 1, 2, 3, missing one. There we go. Alright, so that's them all plugged in for now. I'll zip tie them up or tidy them all up once I know which is which. There's no point kind of doing that just now until I can figure out which one's plugging where. All that's really left to do is the control and all the kind of main kind of power wiring and stuff. But I'm running out of day and I've got a wicked headache, so I'm going to leave it at that for today, and hopefully get back onto it soon when the head's not going. I don't know why I got a headache, but it's not very fun. And yeah, and then we should be able to figure out all the wiring for this, hopefully. This controller here, basically it just has 12 volt key and a ground, and then that just plugs into my, I haven't even checked it actually, I'm assuming it plugs in there. Other way, that way. Oh yeah, so that fits. So this here, I'll probably just lengthen that power wire and probably take it to my solenoid, and then I'll have to run trigger wire up to the ignition, and I'm thinking of running that ground to my kill switch, which will kill my controls but not my gauges or compressors, so it'll be on a sort of separate kind of thing. And then I have to figure out how that switch comes into the equation off of there. I did see some circuit diagram the other week that made sense, but I didn't print it off. and so now I've got to go and do a bit of homework on that again and just make sure I kind of got a bit of an understanding of how to wire my pressure switch into there. I'm not sure. This is a bit different to a normal relay, which I have enough trouble with anyway. See, on here I just got orange and blue, and that was just me rationalizing my the old air ride system, technology system. Now I need to figure out what they actually are, so then I can translate it into what those terminals are, whether one of them is like a ground, and whether I just kind of ground that, you know, use that as a ground switch for the switch thing. I don't know. I got to do some research. That's probably why my head hurts. But yeah, so these little toggle buttons, there's a map for those somewhere. It tells you what they do. It even gives you, see, this is a bit more sensible. It's got a coloured coded wiring diagram too, so if you actually pull it apart or you have to repin it, you know what everything means. So it would be like, one would be left up and down, two would be front left and right up and down, maybe right up and down, all up, all down, left rear up and down, right rear up and down, left rear, both rear up and down. So, you know, if you want to dump the whole lot at once, you just hit that one. If you just want to bring the front up and back up, and then adjust individually. Most of the time, if you haven't got any leaks, those three are all the ones, that's all you kind of need, but it's whether they come up evenly is the key thing. That's where having the gauges are really important. As I used to find on my old C10, it would, not my C10, my C15 that had bags, you'd kind of like bring the front up, and one side would always come up like 10 pounds shy of the other side or something like that. So it was a kind of a bit of a nuisance, so you just had to just give it a little bit more. And yeah, and then you find your sweet spot, and that's where your gauges tell you where your sweet spot is, whether it's at 80 pounds or 20 pounds, I don't know yet. We'll find out. Anyway, we'll see you in a bit. Hey guys, so a couple days later, in the timeline of things, I've been doing some research. Got this tiny little wee diagram here that for some reason I couldn't blow up when I wanted to print it out, so it's a bit tricky to see. I was just trying to get a kind of consensus on how I should go about wiring things, like with this kind of setup that I'm going with now. being that I've got the 80 amp solenoid instead of like a normal, just a normal relay. I think it had a solenoid because originally the system had 3 pumps, and I'm only going to kind of run one for now, and one as a backup. So I could actually take that solenoid out and put a normal like 30 or 40 amp relay in instead, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave that 80 amp, that little round sucker down there. It's like a Ford style starter solenoid. I'm still going to run that because I got it, and all my cables are set up for, you know, that heavy battery feed, because I'm running a cable all the way up to the front and stuff for the battery, so I'll use that, you know. So I had to kind of figure out what the 4 terminals were. I knew what 2 of them are. One's for the battery and one's for the goes to the air pumps, you know, the compressors. And there's 2 other terminals, and I think I had noted on there, or whether the previous owner had, ground and blue. So it was for the blue wire. So with this setup, it's kind of hard to see, but we go from our 12 volt key to our pressure switch in the tank, and then to one side of the solenoid, and then the other side comes out to the ground, and then out to the compressors, and then straight to the battery. So it's just acting as a high amp switch. Same kind of setup on here, but it's just a normal kind of relay, yeah, this style relay. So I'm going to run 12 volts to my sensor, like it is laid out here, but I'll have my solenoid in this part of the circuit, and what I was trying to figure out is where I could pull power from for my controller, for my switches, my switch panel sort of thing, and that in my valve block. So I've got that 12 volt keyed little short wire with the fuse on it there. So I need to extend that, and what I'm thinking of doing is tying that in with the ignition side on the sensor. So I'll have 2 wires going into that spade terminal for that side of the sensor, rather than running a whole nother wire up the front. As long as I, you know, got a decent enough gauge wire going up there for my 12 volt keyed, and coming to that sensor, which, as you saw earlier on, is back there, that little one that's pointing down there. We'll plug in there and then come out the other side of that. Then we'll kind of loop from there across to the solenoid, and then a ground out the other side, and that essentially should be it. So I need to maybe repurpose my power wires that I had running up the front, because I think I can actually reuse those that I had all loomed up and ready to go and stuff. That should be plenty long enough, and then we'll figure out how we can kind of wire them in. Know what I'm saying? So I'll just rummage through that, find out what I can use still out of my leftovers. Okay, so cut this off my other old system's loom, and this is just red and black wire that I'm going to run up the front. This will be my 12 volt keyed, and this will actually be my ground. This is going to go to that, I talked about it in the previous video, I think, the kind of ground switch to cut off my controller sort of thing for our low volume cert thing. I don't know whether it'll pass cert, but it might. I have passed something similar before, so it'll be activated off the shifter, so it can only, the controls will only work when it's in park. And for cert, you know what I'm saying? So not that I want to be screaming around and bagging it up and down and stuff like that, but it is handy if you can control, you know, if you're coming into a car park and you got like speed humps or judder bars, they're a little bit on the high side, which we get a lot around here because the people who design them are morons, and they just put speed humps and raised crossings everywhere because they just think it's a brilliant idea, but it's actually freaking stupid. Speed humps I get in certain situations, but raised crossings, they're just dumb. And anyway, so it would be good to be able to kind of just, you know, hit the switch, bring it up a little bit here and there, just to get over certain things and then on your way sort of thing, whereas having to actually put it into park is actually a pain in the ass. yeah, I'm going to run this up the front. So one end of this will go to my pressure switch, the other end will go up to a ignition feed, 12 volt key sort of thing, accessory and on. And one of them will be going to the earth side of my controller. So I'm going to put terminals on these as well, rather than just hard crimp them or solder them and stuff, because I want to be able to kind of disconnect parts of this sort of circuit for maintenance or servicing and things like that. Not really maintenance, but if anything goes wrong, rather than having to pull the whole thing out, I want to be able to unplug this at the boot end, if you know what I mean, so I can then take out my control panel or take out my switch block or whatever, take stuff out, unplug things, and not have to take the car apart to get to the loom and pull the whole loom out, sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make plug and play. And so I'm going to run these up the front, or from front to back, and then we'll show you what I'm going to do next, hopefully. Okay, so just been ages trying to get one of these little pins in, but we got there in the end. So that's my little plug and play plug on there, so that'll get run over the back, this red wire, like so, like that. Eventually it'll get pinned up or tied up or something, I'm not sure what yet. And yeah, so that way that can be kind of just unplugged if I need to, because I am going to have to lengthen this cable. Yep, choice. And I've got to get a bracket of some sort, or make a bracket of some sort to hold that up. I was thinking of like just going to the hardware and seeing if I can get a 40mm pipe bracket of some sort that I can mount off there, or I may just make something, I don't know, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Go and have a coffee. So, got my power wire for my controller, which I'm gonna tie into this, which will then go onto one side of that. Don't need that on there anymore. So I just got to strip those, crimp them, heat shrink them, and then I've got to run a power wire from the other side out to my solenoid, and that should be it, other than hooking it into something up the front. So I'll just get these stripped and crimped and heat shrinked and stuff like that. Make sure that fits on there actually. Yep, choice. I'm going to cut the bulk of that crap off there though, because these are some. The only reason I'm using that is because it's got a big kind of opening in it to run two lots of wire through. Come on, get on there. I might have to trim a bit of this off. Might, since this is a heat shrink stuff itself as well, I might give that a bit of a shrink. Actually, I might use my propane. It might be better. The old ciggy lighter. Maybe it isn't a heat shrink, maybe it's just plastic. Oh, went out. It should be enough that I can get this black heat shrink over the top. So that's that one done. So I've got to do another one now to run over to my solenoid. Got some wire ready. How much do I need? That should do us. Should do us. Okay. Is it gonna be long enough? I hope so. Alright, so plug that one like so into there. Like so. Now we'll go back out the front and terminate the other end and put an eyelet on that side, I think. this. If you see the markings I had on here, I've got orange and grey, which is from there, and I think I might have extended them, I'm not sure, and I put a blue wire on there. So, but I've also got grey ground, black marked on there, so I'm going to run that as the ground and see what happens. Take that off of there. Just take them both off now. Now I've got an eyelet somewhere. That one there. So red wire. Bring that about there. Cut that down. Got some heat shrink somewhere. I'll put it in here. There it is. That'll go on there. Could have done with some smaller heat shrink, but I don't actually have any, so that'll have to do. It's just a bit of a protector. It's not exactly shrunk down on there, but it has round the fitting, so it'll be alright. So now I need to make an earth cable for there, like just a little short one. It'll go from here to basically the body. So found me a piece of ground wire. It actually even says ground on it. This is from the previous wiring job on the truck, probably. It was left over from that. It doesn't need to be very long, but I want it long enough that I can kind of maneuver it. A heat shrink on that. Another one of these little blue ones. This will go on to the solenoid. That's the washing machine. It's a bit cold this morning, so it's not running a little bit freer than it should do. Yeah. And then I've got a slightly bigger eyelet for the other end, but I'm going to take this yellow thing off because they end up just too bulky, and it's just a ground, so just put that somewhere safe. Got a heat shrink on there. Still the washing machine. That's right, these bigger eyelets take a bit more compressing. Got it that time. Slide my heat shrink on. My cold hands can figure it out. Still the washing machine. Ground strap complete. Okay, so still the washing machine. Right, I just got to bolt this back up and behind here, and I'll tap that little ground onto one of these, probably the bottom one. Okay, right, just got to tighten that up and we're done. Air straps on, got my trigger and my compressor and the spare compressor. Now I need to tap in somewhere up the front. I thought about just tapping into my just into my radio wires just temporarily. One's a battery and one's a ignition, so I might just tap into those just for testing purposes. And I need to hook up my gauges as well, actually. So, because I'm not sure, now that I've done all that, I'm going to have quite enough. I might be able to pull a little bit more through. Yeah. Don't want it tight, but don't want it loose, you know. I want to get as much as I can out of here. So that's got to come along there. It's going to go eventually up and over. So I'm actually a little bit short, so for testing purposes I might just do a temporary tie into this grey wire, which should be my 12 volt keyed for my radio, and that one there is the battery wire, which is for the radio as well. I could actually tap in here anyway and use this as my feed, because I was thinking of putting it on the battery sort of circuit anyway, off the fuse panel. Know what I'm saying? Yeah, so what do I need to do that? I need something to temporarily join those together, and ground. I need to ground off that black wire on there as well, somewhere temporary also, just to make sure it's all going to work the way I'm expecting or hoping it will. Okay, so don't judge. I just use this Lego block to join all my my battery, my radio feed from my 12 volt accessory to my trigger and to my power for my gauges. Join the ground, and they're tapped into that ground there. I didn't have a spade terminal, so I had to kind of hokey up some stuff, but it's just for testing purposes, so just settle down. I know what it is. My gauge, should I take that off just now? I'll leave that little protective film on there for now. We'll plug her in just like so. Now we can hook the battery up and see what happens. Scary. Nothing went bang just yet. Might need to change my battery on my camera, but turn the ignition on. Something beeped. Does this thing beep? Okay, so first up, that sensor's in the wrong place. A wicked leak somewhere. It's not really building any more than that much. Have a look and see where else it's leaking. Pulled this off again. Now these two fittings I bought from TWL locally, and they're supposed to be 1/4 inch, but I'm wondering whether they're actually metric, because my line didn't really fit into them kind of as smoothly as my other fittings, so I think that might be the problem. I do have these 45s, which are the wrong NPT. These are 1/8 NPT and I need 1/4, so I need to either find some more adaptery things like that and step them down, or step them up, either way, and maybe try these other fittings I've got. Okay, so I've been out most of the day, but I've just got back and fitted these new fittings onto the water trap. Had a bit of issue with the one wasn't plugged in properly, and that hose coming off that compressor leaks unless you wiggle it into the right spot, so that's not good. So I mean, all I had to do was just turn it and it's sealed. So yeah, I think I might have to either get a new hose or swap it or something, but we'll have a look at this thing. This thing beeps when you give it voltage. It's this horrible noise. So I've just charged up the tank with the compressor to 60 odd pound just to, you know, get it going. See that beep? So we've got 65. Yeah. Okay, so now it's building pressure. While it's doing that, I'll go and feed the controller through here so I can see what it's doing, you know. Okay, so just let the compressor run up. It cut off at 155, which I thought was going to cut off at 150 for some reason, so we'll have a look. Okay, that's a back one. Oh, hang on, is this upside down? Let it go that way. Alright, left front. Okay, this doesn't seem to be doing hardly anything that it should be doing. It's clicking. None of this actually lands where it's supposed to. We've still got, I don't know, we've got 72 pounds in one corner. I don't know what corner it is. It's definitely not the tank. So maybe I should switch. Yeah, the tank is that one there. So I need to switch that over to one of the others. I don't know. Okay, so just spent a bit of time switching out all the plugs for the sensors. So I've got everything in the right corners and the right plugs and that now. I think it's kind of hard to tell off this because this is just acting all goofy as. So what is this? You go, this is supposed to be front up, front down. So that's like releasing air. That's bringing the back up, but it doesn't bring it down. That one brings it down. That's the middle button. That should be all up. But that's bringing up, I think maybe one corner. Should be all down. This should be right front up. It's like it's releasing. It's bringing up the back, I think. And that's bringing up that. So that should be left rear down, left rear up. So that's basically letting air out on whichever. And that is right front up, I think. The left front up, which is about right. Look at the gauge. Fortunately, I can let all the air out. This should be all four corners up. But it's letting air out and blowing things up at the same time. So there's some crossed wires in between this and my valve block somewhere. It plugs straight in, but it doesn't behave like it should. So and so far nothing in the right front, but there is one button here, I think that one does absolutely nothing. So that one puts air in somewhere up left front. So I just let it all out. So I've still got something in this right rear. Oh, there we go. Oh, is that up or down? So that's putting... That's blowing up 2 corners when I do that. Oh man. Yeah, that didn't go, other than the compressor and everything switching on and switching off like it's supposed to. This controller thing went nothing like I thought it was going to. I thought it was just going to be like, that was the easy bit. Plug it in, hit the buttons, and away we go. But that, yeah, there must be some kind of crossed communication between that controller and my valve block, man, because like they're not talking, like not at all. Well, not really. I think the gods are saying just put coilovers in it, which I could do. Static drop, yeah. Oh god, because this is I just don't know what to freaking say. My gauge I actually quite like, other than the beeping noise that it makes when you switch it on. Yeah, see, it makes that noise. I'm not sure what to do now, whether I have to take my valve block out and freaking dissect it, take this apart, dissect it, figure out what wires are going where and stuff like that, because at this point that's about all I have to do. I have to figure out, I've got a circuit diagram here for a valve block. It's like a VU4F block, you know. Are they all the same or what? Or have I got either a faulty block or a faulty thing that's, you know, not quite correct? But I don't know. Might open this up and have a look in here, make sure there's nothing real obvious in here, and then we'll maybe move on to the valve block. I think that's actually Allen keys, but screwdriver fits in it, so that's good. The last one of these like style things I had in my Silverado, my C15, was an OBS truck. Something like this. It was very basic, so I just kind of took it all apart and pulled the switches and made a panel and stuff like that for it. I don't like these as a rule. Here we go. My last one didn't have a circuit board in there like that though. How does that come apart? Awesome. This is nothing like my old one. My old one was much simpler. Hey. I really need my glasses on to look at the circuit board properly. What holds the circuit board onto the face there? Can they come out, or is that all soldered together? I think it is all soldered to. It is too. So the switches are put in, boards put on, and then soldering all the tabs onto the board. Yeah, so which one wasn't working at all? Just got to get my glasses and have a study of this. Okay, so I've been having a look at this, and yeah, some stuff doesn't really make sense to, like the harness that came with that valve block, the plug, which just was unterminated. So I'm gonna have to be like doing some bit of research. I'll see if I can find the original purchase information for my valve block and see, manifold, I keep calling it a valve block but it's an air manifold, and see if I can find some pinout colouring and that on that, some accurate stuff, because I mean I've got other bits of paper but nothing really matches up to what I've got, if you know what I mean. So I'll have a look and see if I can find some of that tonight. If I can't, I may just have to pull the valve block manifold back out, open it up, and determine my pinout sort of thing that way, and then I can see where it lands with my pinout for my controller and stuff. But at this point, yeah, there's one corner doesn't seem to be doing anything off the buttons, but I could, if I wanted to start chopping wires, I could just get a toggle switch, three-way switch, and experiment with each wire combination until I can figure it out, and I'm pretty sure that'll make my head hurt. So I might just, not for now. I'll see if I can find some more paperwork. It shouldn't be this hard, guys. Honestly, like, this should be too easy, but it's probably my own fault for buying a manifold from one place and then a switch controller from another and all this kind of shit. But it should be pretty standardized, but unfortunately it isn't. But on the upside, my compressor switch comes on and off when it should. So it does take a while to catch up, so I think running 2 compressors might actually be the better way to go. Probably going to need to put my battery on charge though, so still haven't done that. So anyway, hopefully tomorrow we'll get back at this and hopefully get this freaking thing working. It's almost there, it's just all over the place. The buttons just don't do what it's supposed to. So till tomorrow. Okay, so it's the next day, and just was about to take the valve block off and noticed that my tank is actually still holding just under 140 psi. So that's good, but I've got to now empty the tank so I can take my valve block off, because I'm going to have to open that up and have a look at the wiring on it so I can get a proper pinout. Did a lot of interneting last night and couldn't find anything that kind of helped me determine how my valve block is wired up. I found a couple of different things and they were done differently, so the only way to know for sure is to open mine up and pin it out, basically, like work out where everything goes and is and stuff like that. It's a bit of a pain, but doing some weird things. I think there's something crossed over somewhere, because one of the buttons on the controller, when you push it, it was earing up one corner and you could hear it earing out somewhere else. So it was, there's two solenoids were opening at the same time on one rocker push sort of thing, and it was supposed to be going up, but it was going up and down at the same time. So that's kind of weird. So whether it's in the valve block or in my controller harness, I don't know at this stage. So that's what I've kind of got to, basically gonna have to piece through the whole lot and check it all wire by wire and just see what's going on. Bring you back in when I've kind of got things opened up and hopefully have a bit of an insight as to how it all is supposed to be working. Whether it's just a conflict, as I said, between 2 different manufacturers. You know, the controller came from one outfit, the valve block came from another. Oh, this is one of the pictures I sort of found which kind of explains the wiring and that on it. That's one I had the other week, but yeah, so I don't know. We'll be back. Okay, right, got this out. I'm going to start taking it apart again. I have actually taken this apart once before when I first got it, and that was to try and figure it out then, but I don't think I took any notes unfortunately, and I know that's a little bit kind of tricky when you take this cover off from memory. That's right, there's these freaky little washer things that have to line up. Okay, so if you look in here, yeah, there's got all these little washers that sort of supposed to sit on top of the solenoids, but they were actually all over the place, not where they were supposed to be, so I have to make sure they all kind of get lined up again, all proper like when I try and figure this out and put it back together. Hopefully I can figure it out. It's kind of not really looking how I thought it was going to look. But, oh well. Okay, well, I'll pull all these out, count them up, make sure I've got 8. Okay, so I'll do some study and we'll be back. Okay, so I have been multimeter testing all my pins and where they all correlate to on this little board. Now this board has a common, or ground, or the positive is those 2 bottom pins there, which is those 2 there, which runs throughout the whole board. So one of the little pins on these plugs is kind of grounded to the whole board, and the other pin corresponds to one of these pins, and that basically is my map here, looking at it from this angle, which is that way, which is opposite to what this is. So got it all kind of figured out, what's up, what's down, I think. But something I noted, these kind of pinout sort of plans that I found online, 2 different companies, but they both show like you got front left, rear right, front right. On mine we've got front left, front right, rear left, rear right. So my plumbing is in a different order on my valve block to everything I've been able to find online. And I went back to the old kind of where I purchased this from, and it was gone. So there you have it. I bought this a few years ago, three or so years ago, I guess. Now I have to grab my harness and that back out and figure out whether my harness is pinned to this, or obviously not this because it doesn't work. So whether I am able to kind of change some stuff around to make one compatible with the other, we're yet to figure out. Okay, so straight off the bat, if you have a look at this, this is the harness for my controller. That pin there and the opposite on the other side have got nothing in them, so which is conflicting to what I have just determined as to what's hooked up on mine. So that would be my front up, which kind of works. I couldn't get it to go front up, and I don't know what they've got in this side. The red wire is, according to this little diagram that came with this controller, front left down. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think I could get the front left to go down yesterday. So I'm going to check out the rest of the wiring on this and see whether where all these wires kind of go in relation to what my valve block needs, and then I might see if I can figure out if I can repin this and get, I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually, no, I might be able to kind of move some things around on this pin, because I don't know whether I'll be able to do it on the block so easily, valve manifold, nah, because of the way this is soldered in, that those 2 pins are definitely in use. My front up, front right, front up, yeah. Okay, do some more investigating. Okay, so I think I will be able to depin this. I've managed to get this outer piece off. The way to do that, these just kind of push on, but I was trying to lever it up from the sides and it didn't work, and I ended up just jamming the screwdriver in there and just go, just flew away. But so you can get those apart. So to depin this, repin it, I need to move some stuff around. I did some checking, and there's a couple of other things in the wrong places, or one spot over. So pretty much the only 3 that'll stay the same, I think, are those 2 black wires there and that purple. The purple should be front left up, which is correct in my positioning. So I'm gonna see if I can de-pin this. Is this little screwdriver going to be small enough? Might be. Where's the locking tabs on these ones? Never done this type of pin before, so I don't know where the little locker is. I'm assuming it's down there. Doesn't want to go. Ah, there it is. Coffee? Yes, please. Coffee. Even easier, if you can see down in there, there's a little tab there. All you do is push those down and then you can just push that pin out. How cool is that? You push that down. It's kind of hard to show you. I'm just pulling that little, you can see it, it's just inside there, there's a little tab, and then you can just go push, 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 push. Yeah, so those three will stay in there, the rest all coming out. I should probably just take them all out, might be easier. See, I might do that, that way I can rearrange them in the little grommet thing. Okay, so I've kind of taken everything out. Now to read my little map I have to look at it from this direction, because my little map is looking into the plug, into it that way, like that. So I've just got to kind of rearrange these. So my front left up, where's my pen? Tick some stuff off. So we go front left up, left front up, it's purple, so that's in the right place. So I'm going to go right front up. Where's it? Right front up should be blue, so blue should be next to the purple. You see? So if we look at this little map here, if we're going, I've done, these grounds are in, that's front left up, and then we've got front right up, which is blue. It's like right front up, everything's, this is how I think, front left, front right, but on my block it's all back to front, so it confuses me. So it should be right front up, it'll be blue, will go in that corner. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm, it's kind of what I'm working through, work our way through that. So next up we've got left rear up, so that's left rear up, should be yellow, so it'll be left rear up, so left rear up should be yellow, so it should be in that top corner. And then next is right rear up, should be black. Next up is right rear down, right rear down should be white. And then we've got left rear down, left rear down should be brown next to that. And then we have this little tick next to it, tick. Right front down, so right front down should be grey. And then the last, grey, and then we should just have one red one left, which should be left front down, so left front down should be in that top corner, just right there. So that should be where all my pins go. Now I'm just going to put it all back into the plug, and then put my valve plug back together, put it all back in, charge it up, see if anything works or doesn't work. Yeah. Okay. Now I've got to make sure I put this back in the right way. So if we're looking at it like that, it goes into the plug like that. Pull that all in tight, that should hold its shape a bit better, and then I should be able to slot them in. So it goes that way. Okay, I don't know if there's any sensible way of doing this, but I might just have to wiggle things around until I get everything to line up where it's supposed to line up. Okay, so after a bit of finagling, I got all my pins in that back in. I've just been through and double checked that I've kind of done everything that I think it's supposed to be right. So I just got to put this thing in here. This little tongue on here is what actually stops those little tabs opening, so those pins shouldn't be able to kind of roll back, you know what I mean. We'll put the little rubbery gasket thing back in as well, I guess. Shouldn't have a water issue where it's going, but it's got it. We'll put it there. So that's my controller put back together, my controller harness. So now I've just got to put my valve lock back together. Alright, so got to put this thing back together. Hopefully, I vaguely recall when I did this last time, it was a mission to get these things all lined up and stay lined up and stuff like that. But we'll endeavour. I'll put that on after, I think. As you've seen, a bit of a fiddle to get that back together. Trying to do it the upside down way just wasn't happening. I didn't actually think I'd be able to do it that second way, but that's probably the most logical way in hindsight. So that's all back together. So hopefully now when we plug it all in and plumb it all up, it should work. I'm wondering if there's a way I can test it without running the whole thing. I don't know. We'll have a look. Maybe we'll just put it in and hope for the best. One snap of the knee. Okay, so that's my thing all back in. So I've just run the compressor up, my big shop compressor, to kind of give it a bit of a start up. Just so the little compressor doesn't have to do all the work. I'll put the cover back on here. Okay, so I have news. It all seems to work correctly now, but my controller works different than I thought. There's the front. All up, front up and down. That works. The only kind of thing that is oddball now is my gauges are all back to front. So if that's so that should be left front down, which it is. So I've got to figure out what I've done wrong. You can see how on my front it's all 180 out now on my gauges, which is fine. That's just a case of plugging them all in different places. So figuring that out, figuring out what I've done wrong. But I just assumed, I don't know why, that it was going to be this way, but it's not. When I first played with it, everything was back to front, but it's that way. So that's, left front, left rear, right rear. This is all up, all down. It's hard to hang on to, and that Oh, stupid thing. And that's front up, front down, all up, all down, rear up, rear down, and then, you know, the four corners sort of thing, so it's that way. But yeah, my gauges are back to front, ass backwards. Yeah, so there's that one there. So I've got to switch them all over and figure it out. But other than that, it works now. Like, we have working air ride. I just got to get my gauges dialed in so I can figure out what I'm looking at. Okay, so switched around my things, like my gauges after making the changes to the pinout and stuff. It made all my gauges like 180 out, so it's basically just swapping the end two over and then the middle two over that way, sort of thing. So I don't know why. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, she all is working as it should. So if we come down on this left front, like that, and the right front, like that, and then, you know, left rear, down to that 37, the right rear, and we should be able to, you know, front down, both of them, rear down, both of them, and if we go all down, just like that, the whole lot come down in one fell swoop. I've got to put an exhaust on that thing, or route the exhaust out at the moment. It's a horrible sound in here. I'm just going to try it all up. I can then just, to even it up, just chuck another couple of pound in the front to bring it up to where I like it. I like the front on this about there, sort of around 70, 73 pound in the front, gets the A-arms just in that right sort of spot. And the back, still to be determined, it's got 40 pounds in there now. And that's, you know, reasonable sort of ride height. I'll just wait for this compressor to shut up. Yeah, okay, so compressor's shut up now. Guess I can switch this off. I still haven't charged the battery, so yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it all works now as it should. I mean, it's a much more basic system than what we were going to be running before, but I'm happy with that. I don't like these controllers. I don't want this just hanging around in here, so I have a bit of a plan. But that circuit board kind of threw me. I wasn't expecting that. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do what I want to do now with my sort of ear control side of thing, where was going to put the buttons. But I should be able to do it. It's just it's all soldered together. You can't take it apart. Well, unless you desolder it. And could do that, I guess. Asking for trouble, or just buy a bunch of new rockers, but then never mind, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But that's it working for now, so I can kind of keep moving ahead, because I know that you my guys must be getting sick of these stupid ear ride install videos where I've just been battling my own ineptitude a lot of the time. But yeah, interesting how, you know, the controller and the valve block were kind of wired for a different kind of pin configuration sort of thing. So these universal parts aren't always that universal, so you know, if you're having problems with stuff and compatibility, then it could be something as simple as that. It was just basically pinned in the wrong place, and I just had to, you know, got no instructions with that manifold, got very little instructions with the controller. I did get that little square of paper that just had the color codes for the pinouts, so that helped heaps. Whereas yeah, my manifold came with no paperwork whatsoever, so it came with a plug and a harness sort of thing. And I remember when I got it, I pulled it apart and thought I'd had mapped it out, but I can't find any bits of paper detailing what we just done this morning. But yeah, definitely happy now that my air ride can work. So still a few things to do. It still has to be wired in properly. It's a bit I don't even want to do that today. And this cable is going to be too short for what I'm planning to do, so I'm going to have to cut all that and extend it. And it's like, which is, I didn't really want to. I was originally ordered a 5-meter one of these, and that never got shipped, and then I had, you know, the order got cancelled, and it was like 2 weeks of wasting time waiting for it, sort of thing. So I ended up buying this off a local fella down in the Hawke's Bay who I've bought a few things from before. He's really good, fast turnaround. I had that the next day, you know, so it cost $20 or $30 more, but he only had that one length on the cable side of things, so bit of a bummer in that respect. But just have to cut it up and solder about 6 wires together. You know, I think there's 6 or 8 wires, 10 power as well. I don't know. Solder a bunch of wires together and yeah, make it just a bit longer, because I'll run a route this way as well, I guess. Although I don't know that I can. Won't be able to get my plug through there, I don't think. So I don't know, unless I make an extension harness with plugs or something on it. I don't know, I'll figure it out when we get that far, but my plan is to mount the switches in the center console, so it's just a bit more, you know, posh. And not just a ghetto thing lying on the floor, you know. But yeah, so it works. Pretty stoked about that. Finally, I'm going to leave it with aired up. I want to see whether anything just sort of soaks down overnight. So currently, I'll get off it because it does affect it. So we currently got 47 pounds and then 69, 44. So I wonder if I should write that down just so I can check on it later. Even better, I just took a photo of it. I just thought I'd put the battery on charge, just because I've been running that little compressor, and I think quite a high draw sort of thing, but it's still saying 12.1 volts, so surprised at that. Oh, forgot that. Okay, so last thing on today's little to-do list is this thing here. Here is a 40mm like pipe saddle thing for plumbing. And you're thinking, what are you doing now, you dork? What I'm doing now is making I'm going to use it. I was trying to get something out of metal, but this should be alright. Is something just to support my water trap. So I'm just going to mount that up there, something like that, just to, you know, just kind of, so it's not just hanging there off the hoses, because they will not like that long term. So, but I want to make a little rubber, just a little rubber insert to go between it, and I'm going to put some, like a screw sort of system, just so I can pinch it up tight onto the water trap. Having trouble with my English today. Thinking and walking and talking all at the same time is just a bridge too far, I think. I'm just going to cut me a little strip of rubber that I can affix to the inside of that thing. 15mm. Just in there like so. that down to about there. It'll go inside there, just to kind of give it a little bit of a grip and fill it out just a scotch. I don't know if I could stick that on there somehow so it's a bit more permanent. Got some double-sided tape. Okay, so got some double-sided high bond tape. They use this for like gluing the wings on the space shuttle and stuff. Not really, but I have heard of them using tapes and stuff to hold wings on planes and shit like that. This is just, it's quite expensive stuff this actually. It's double-sided mounting tape, Scotch Mount Extreme, so that'll be perfect for a custom. That's right, it's really really hard to get the red stuff off the back, even when you got fingernails. There we go. Oh, last night, wife and I, sitting in front of the television, thought, oh, shall we watch? The old Happy Gilmore 2 was available for us to watch. And if you liked Happy Gilmore 1 for all its, you know, stupid Adam Sandler-ness, then you'll like Happy Gilmore 2. I thought it was quite good. I did some lolling out loud. That'll do. It's not sticking to the rubber very well, but it's freaking freezing. My hands are so cold. It's not sore anymore. It'll be just to pinch that up when we get that far. Little nut and bolt's actually too small now. Yeah, it is. Okay, with that rubber and that in there, I need a longer rig, I think. Yeah, so it'll be something like that. It's a bit of a pain. It sits quite in the way of my gauge a little bit, but still see the gauge. You just got to look around the water trap. So I need something longer. Alright, so just going to put a couple of marks in here, and hopefully I can get a drill in here to put a couple of these screws in. Actually, can I get a drill in there? Oh god. Might be alright. It's on a bit of an angle, but I'll give it a try. Oh, did I break the drill bit? Oh, I did too. Jeez. That'll do us. Can still see the gauge if I need to. I mean, that's just a kind of auxiliary sort of gauge from checking things. I don't really need it since I've got a tank gauge inside, but yeah, I kind of like the idea of having it there. I'll probably just look at it once in a while and then never look at it again. I mean, this is like $3, this little plastic bracket. I could have made something, you know, like a little steel saddle and pedestal and all sorts of shit, and probably spent 4 hours making a little doodad to hold that up there, and you know, it would have done the same job. So yeah, you know what I'm saying. Still got to mount that Schrader valve somehow. I'm not really sure what I want to do with that yet, or how I'm going to go about it. Yeah, don't know. I think I'll ponder that for now. I'm going to hook up that second compressor. It just takes too long to kind of recharge just on one after you know, laid it out, and it sort of hasn't had a chance to kind of recharge the tank. The tank cuts off at 150 pound. It's actually rated to 200. I could get a different pressure switch so I can store a little bit more pressure in the tank, run it up to maybe 180, you know, do a sort of 170, 180 kind of thing. Don't think it'll make a lot of difference. Ideally you'd have more air storage. I just don't really have the room. I want to have some trunk capacity, even though there's not a lot. If I chucked another tank down on the floor or whatever, there'd be none, and I want to be able to get a spare wheel in here if I need to. But yeah, so that's the air ride essentially done, other than as I talked about earlier, sorting out the controller, the buttons and that for the console, but that's a whole nother project. I'm gonna have to get some materials for that. I do want to kind of start nutting that out soon so I can mount the gauge and mount the controllers, and I've got a head units, the stereo and that I want to mount into the console before I paint it all, make sure everything's going to fit. But yeah, it's just got to tidy up, I guess. I've got a bunch of wiring to zip tie up and kind of neaten up a little bit now that I know it all works and it can all kind of get locked down a little bit better. Yeah, I just didn't want to kind of zip tie everything until I knew I had everything in the right places, if you know what I'm saying, because you know how things go. But anyway, I might have a bit of a clean up, get rid of all the tools and all this sort of erratic stuff that I don't currently need anymore, and just get a bit more organised, because things have kind of got really messy. I've still got all that wiring crap everywhere, and I still need some of it. And I've still got now I've got all tools and screws and offcuts and bits of tape and pencils and fittings and sensors and shit everywhere that I want to just get put away, Okay, so I have tidied all my crap out of the boot, but I've also kind of been around and kind of just zip tied up all this stuff. I don't know if that should sit on that side, that might rub on there, and just kind of like been around and kind of zip tied up all that wire stuff. I'm not looming it all and that, because I'm still not 100% have I done it correctly and all that kind of shit. What I want to kind of do now is actually fire the car up once the battery's charged up, and it's, like feels like it's got plenty of voltage to be able to fire it up for the Holly system. And yeah, like just make sure everything works while everything else works and stuff like that, and I haven't fried anything, heaven forbid. Hey guys, so still charging. It's still got 3 more stages to go on its charging cycle, so I'm not going to start it up today. Well, on this video anyway. I've got some stuff I've got to go and do this afternoon, so I just wanted to get this air-eyed thing working and dialed in. Still got to do the final wiring up the front, which is going to involve some extending of wires, but I might kind of like look at that when we kind of like nutting out the control kind of relocation of all the buttons and stuff. But it works, and the gauges work and all that stuff. I can operate it. I've got it sitting up at the moment, and yeah, we'll maybe leave it overnight. I'll see what the ear's doing, see whether it's sort of lost any pressure and stuff. I can hear a faint hissing, I think, when I shut the boot, and I was just in there just now, getting my earballs in there and having a listen, and I just think there's a faint hiss. I don't know where it's coming from, so we'll see what drops. It could be one corner drops, and that'll kind of lead me to if it's a leak. I knew that they don't leak at the bag fittings, because I had it sitting up on here for months with just those ball valves and that in there. But now that it's kind of quite tricky to plug in with the tank and into the manifold, the valve block. There's just not a lot of room, not a lot of room to kind of get your hands in there to make sure they're kind of pushed in and pulled back properly. So it could be one of those not seated properly if it's leaking, or it could be my janky splitter thing where my sensors and that are plugged in. I might have to spray some soapy water and that in there and see if I can see any bubbles. It could be my janky adapter that I made for my Schrader valve. So it could be lots of janky things I've done. Nah, never. But yes, could have been. Easy. Could be, again, me screwing shit up. I'm happy that it is now all working and whatnot. I was a bit stumped there when everything was all ass backwards, and I thought, oh no, but I got it figured out with a little bit of diagnostics. Dr. Dave kind of figured it out, and yeah, if you haven't subscribed at this point, subscribe. I've still got to do an exhaust. I've got to block off one of the MPT ports for the exhaust, and I'm gonna put an exhaust line running it out under the car somewhere, just so it's not so sort of hissy in the boot, if you know what I mean. You can get mufflers too. I don't really know how they work, but maybe that's an option. Like, I just don't like that real loud hiss when they lay out sort of thing. That's not my jam. Mind you, when if it's running, you won't hear that. The engine or the exhaust note should drown that out. Still can't get this driver's door to kind of lock up as nicely as I would like it to. It's sitting out here, still see heaps of daylight there. I don't really know where it's kind of snagging up other than there. It used to shut better than this. It was never great, but it shut better than this before I put this in. So I don't know whether we can. See, it does drop a little bit here, drop down that way, so I could maybe pull the door that way, but I mean, I've got the catch in as far as it goes, and it's still, you know, there's no adjustment in that part of it, is there? Nah, it's all on that catch there, and that's back as far as it can, so I don't really know what else I can do there, but it just takes a bit of slamming, and I hate slamming car doors. And now, yeah, like I say, this pushed out hard out here. I don't know. We'll worry about that another day. Today's mission was to get that air ride sorted, and we have done it for the most part. And yeah, pretty happy. Don't forget we're on the Instagram and on the Facebook, just for a bit of, you know, spamming you about videos. But Dissecting Customs merch, as I said in the last video, I've been working on merch in the background, doing a little bit of drawing and stuff over the last few years. Not a lot, to be fair. And I've released a couple of designs on dissectingcustoms.com. Shipping from the US, because my one's got printed in the US to here, was like $17 US, but that was for 3 shirts and a hat I ordered, I think. Yeah, so I didn't think that was too bad. Works out, you know, $20 odd sort of thing, $25, $30, which is not too bad for us. If you're buying just one shirt, it's probably not that cost effective, you know, unless you're just really, you know, digging the shirt and want to look cool. But yeah, so that's where we're going to leave it. As always, thanks heaps for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and until next week, take it easy and peace.